You've already messaged her. You're sitting there overthinking about the text and you're like, there's no reply and you got to sit in that waiting feeling. Well, today, bro, let's get into this. So the law of masculine social dynamics that applies directly to this is tension, right? So this is at the stage now where when you're listening to this, in this whole thing, is really the phase where it's like, okay, you've gotten some permission to hit on her. You're past the talking phase of like introductions and now you're starting to talk. So when you are feeling those feelings of like, holy shit, what the hell do I say? I'm freaking out. I'm not sure what to say. She hasn't replied yet. The second that comes up is your opportunity to nip that shit in the bud. So essentially what this means is there is a much deeper issue whenever there's a law of tension. There is a personal development breakthrough to have happened. This is why the coaching calls are so important. Because it's not a thinking issue. There's not a her problem issue. There's this problem in you that shows up in the form of, oh, I feel weird. I feel like I need to text her. I feel like I'm lost. I feel like I'm being abandoned. I feel not good enough. I feel like I need to text her. Why isn't she not replying? And then your ego starts projecting and blaming all of this stuff on her. And you're feeling it in your body because it doesn't want to deal with the discomfort, the uncomfortable feeling of potentially getting rejected. So you say, oh, she's just a bitch. She's a bitch. She doesn't understand. Why is she doing this? Like, I shouldn't have messaged her anyway. Like, why am I even on dating apps? Or like, maybe I'm not ready. Or like, this happens to me every single time. So all of these thoughts will just start popping up into your head to send you signals to let you know that there is something that you haven't healed yet in your body. So sorry to tell you this. There is nothing you can do. There is nothing you can say. There is nothing in this situation when you're overthinking a text message or she's not replying and you're feeling uncomfortable, that is going to fix the problem. Nothing is going to fix the problem. It's not a thinking problem. It's not even a problem that's happening on your phone, because rationally and logically, it's like, hey, she's actually busy. She might have something going on in her life. She's probably maybe talking to another guy. Someone in her family might have died. I remember there was a time when I was trying to hit on someone and we're developing a relationship and I got mad or frustrated because she didn't message back straight away, and something so distraught and devastating had happened. I remember I grew up singing, dancing, and acting, and I was in dance class once. And one of the girls that was in the class forgot to bring one of the pieces of costume for like a rehearsal. And I was like, oh, where's your piece of costume there, Talia? And she looked at me and was like, it burnt down in my house. I had completely forgotten, this is like the age of like 13, that a week ago, her house burnt down. She had to watch it, and they had a mansion. It was the most beautiful house you've ever seen. Something happened with the pool. The whole house got set on fire. All their goods and belongings got burnt down, and they had to watch it burn down, right? Imagine that as like a 13-year-old girl, and like your house is the best thing ever, and people love you because of your house and come to your house and think it's the most incredible thing ever, right? It's so traumatizing, and I was like, shit. My ego got in the way. She was being a little bit moody, so then I went to bite back at her and say, well, where's your stuff? Whatever it is. And then she's like, it burnt down in the house, Corey. And I was like, oh God. This has happened to me multiple times in the dating scene when I've been expecting a reply, wanting her to reply. I've been overthinking text messages, and then I will reply the biggest fucking like text message ever, trying to explain what's going on. Like, oh, because of this, trying to explain how I feel, clarify how she feels, make her feel heard and understood so that I can feel heard and understood. There's so many, like, it's just bullshit that occurs when you don't move through this feeling problem. Now, where this feeling comes from in the law of tension is it comes from a conditional pattern that you've adapted to the world in regards to how you should respond to it from childhood. Things are safe, things are dangerous. You can have someone who's an alcoholic parent. One person hates alcohol and never drinks in their life, and the other person becomes an alcoholic. You can have people who don't have an alcoholic parent. One person becomes a party goer, starts taking drugs and doing everything, and then one person does absolutely nothing and they follow suit just like their parents, right? So what happens is like, why are they different? Why are the siblings different here? Well, their body has just responded to the world differently, which has created a behavioral pattern for how they should show up in the world. And that's what they believe and they should think should happen. Because it's an avoidance of feeling some sort of tension, love, or intimacy, right? Which is when people say, love is the answer, love is the key, right? That's what they mean. When they love is the answer or love is always the key is a response that's like, if you can feel the depths of intimacy and love and choose that over your conditional patterns, something positive is going to happen. That's where like hippies get freed. They just don't know how to explain that shit. So essentially we're teaching you how to be a hippie, bro. So what you can do in this is there's a practice that would be linked in here somewhere, and it's called emotional processing. And what you do is you got to get clear on what that feeling is in your body, right? So let's say you get this anxious feeling when she doesn't reply. She doesn't text you. You start overthinking the text. Fuck, what should I say back? What should I say back? It's never a what should I say back problem. It's a how can I get through this tension that I'm feeling so that I can reply back authentically and truthfully. And what it is where do I feel it? Question, where do I feel this in my body? Oh, I feel it in my chest. Okay, what emotion is it? Anxiety, right? I'm feeling the emotion of anxiety. Then it's like, okay, well, where does the energy want to move? Well, I feel it kind of want to expand out. Does it want to expand out, up, down, move around? Like, how does it want to move? Label that. And then go, okay, so what's the texture? What is the detailed picture that I see of this, right? It feels like it's a ball, a big spiky ball that's kind of like sticking out and it's moving in and out like really fast. Feels like it's vibrating. All right, cool. And where does it want to move? It moves out of my chest, right? And then, okay, all right, so it wants to move out of your chest. What's that emotion it's feeling? It's like some sort of like, love and connection. And I'm like, okay, so now where do you feel love and connection in your body? I feel it in my head and I feel it on my heart. Can you connect the two together? Like, yes. Okay. Now, how can you feel them as much as possible? And it might be actually moving your chest out like this while your eyes are closed, shaking your chest, like doing some of these movements to allow that energy to move out of your body. It's been stored. That's when they say like, emotion gets stored in your body. It's energy getting stored in your body, and it's stored in your body based off of a way that you've seen the world. I don't know if you guys have seen trauma processing or if you have seen trauma recognition or you've seen breath work. I'll put a link to something below in this so you can see it happening when people like start moving through trauma. Some people go super dramatic, and I believe that's completely fine. Go dramatic as possible. Go out there. I've had like full exorcisms and shit. But what happens is your body moves in a way that is needed to move in order for process and trauma to heal, which is these patterns. And when they're healing, you have to have the thought in your brain of like, okay, I'm separate from my body. My body needs to move and heal through this, and I'm just letting it go, even if it feels ridiculously uncomfortable. That's why like mushrooms, MDMA, bad trips, or breath work create the safety or get you into the space to allow your body to start moving through those, emotions and rhythms that your body wants to move through to process something. Sort of like music, how it ripples through water and it changes the state of water. I don't know if you guys have seen those studies where it's like, people have like charged water now, and it comes from music, or they put a certain resonance, like alpha beta waves at like a 42,000 hertz or some shit, and that changes the texture of the water. It's the same thing in your body. So your body has to move through certain rhythms in order for that to happen. But there's no point allowing your body to move through these rhythms if you don't understand the emotion and the energy in your body and what it's linked to. And then you link the intention in your brain that's like, okay, there's this not good enough feeling that I learned when I was a child. What did that feel like? Where is it in my body? How can I process this and allow my body to feel through this not good enough energy? And you're consistently just allowing yourself to feel and surrender into the emotion. Now, if you aren't comfortable listening to a meditation, it's come to a coaching call and talk about it. If it's hard for you and you notice your brain disassociate even as I'm talking, your body's like, hell no, I don't want to see that shit. This is for you to talk about with the boys. This is why men would gather around fires. This is why men would be in tribes, to have these conversations to allow us to move through these things. Now, one thing I want to invite you in, which is to help you understand masculinity, is sometimes just talking about shit isn't enough. There's a reason why men want to play sports and play games and put themselves so close to death, right? The closer to death that you're living, the more alive you feel, right? So when it comes to this emotional processing, sometimes it's yelling, kicking, screaming, fuck you, raging at each other. Men men get angry at parties and shit, and there's two guys just like fighting. You're like, why are these two fucking guys fighting all the time? Well, they've got trauma from their childhood at some way where they've been trying to deal with the world, and their way of letting it out is with this other guy who also wants to fight at a party. So their bodies are just moving through to try to fight the pain of something in their past rather than actually, being pissed off at the guy at the party. They're just looking for an excuse. You see that in your teenage years and your early 20s. And it's just men just trying to process each other's trauma. So that's why we would battle and create sacred, rage ceremonies and fight, as men who would, back in the day, they would have those like rituals when we used to live in tribes. And that's why boxing and wrestling and fighting is so important, in our culture, and where the spirituality and the discipline of the practice of routine, learning a skill, keeping calm. And it's always the calm guy under the pressure of the fights that usually wins. It's the guy who can feel the most emotion and be calm at the same time who wins over the next guy. You see that, like example, Conor McGregor, extremely composed. Khabib, extremely passionate and composed. So when like Khabib kicked his head in, right? That's just like an example that I use here. So if that is the case, and it comes to you sending a text message, and you're feeling a charge in your body, and you're overthinking it, it's a feeling issue, not an overthinking issue. And then when it comes to getting the truth of the truth, there's a couple of other different pillars in masculine social dynamics. Because one thing that may come up in the situation is you just don't know what to say. You don't know how to play, and you don't know how to have fun, and you don't know how to flirt. So what I would look at this is if you don't know how to do those things, it can make you feel, it's not insecure. It's like this insignificant type of, insecure feeling. Will she actually like me? Like there's an insecurity that comes if you don't know how to flirt, or this girl gets you, which is also a tension and an emotion to feel through. When you get to the end of that, one thing that can help support you in it is learning the law of push and pull. Push is leaning in. Pull is essentially leaning out to invite her to come to you. Now, you can't get good at push and pull unless you're comfortable at dealing with the tension of sitting and being uncertain. Will she reach out to me? Will she text me? Will she call me? Will she lean in? Dealing with the edge of saying something cheeky, knowing that it can ruin the relationship. The man who can dance on the edge of pushing her away and getting completely rejected and moving through, and at the same time keeping the polarity and this charge, is the guy who's going to win, right? Every single time. He can dance on the edge. You can tap dance on it. Let's go. So what that looks like in pull energy when you're talking to a woman is having a good disqualification process. Which is linked, I think, in the MSD laws under disqualification. There is I'll link it below as well, like that actual law, so that you can go in and complete the worksheet. That worksheet puts you in this most perfect position to set up the frame of a conversation with a woman. If you haven't listened to the first stage, like stage 1, is setting up the frame that she is qualifying herself to you. You have this idea of the woman that you want, and you know what red flags and and what you don't want, and you know these red flags and green flags, and knowing this can give you a lot of confidence, and it gives you a lot of sense of security when it comes to pulling, because your disqualification process is how you pull. Question is like, straight away she starts messaging you and be like, look, you're really cute. I'm not sure but I don't commit or get close to women if I know what their relationship's like with their parents. So when you're ready to answer that question for me, I'll answer. Otherwise, we're just gonna have to sit around and play chess. Right, something like that as an example. I didn't come from knowing what to say. What I thought was, how do I disqualify her? Well, disqualification means I need to know my boundaries and what I want in a relationship, right? And that is like, okay, I want a woman who's got a good relationship with her parents. It could be a thing for me. Cool. How can I make this fun? Because I don't want to come in and interview her just like some dick. I need to have fun with this woman, because there could be a way around this. She might have integrated. She might have the worst relationship with her parents, but she might have integrated some stuff. She might have done a lot of work on it, blah, 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 blah. And that for me would be like, well, that's okay for me. Like, if she's integrated that's okay. So, but I need proof that that's there. So, and then I turn something into a game. So, and I let her know my intention. Hey, you're attractive, but I need to know this. So I'm also protecting myself. I need to know clarification of my desire, my want or my not want, which is in the disqualification process. And then I turn it into something fun. And it's like, and until then, like, we can just sit around and play chess, right? And then she can go, ha, ha, ha. She can either turn that with an option to lean into something fun, Or she can go into the deep conversation, and it's up to you. And your role is not to be attached to, she has to have all these deep conversations with me. Your role is just to facilitate. It's like, let's see how this goes, and not be attached to any outcome, not be attached to the pacing, because that kills attraction. It's in the law of masculine social dynamics called attraction killers. You don't want to have any of those attractions die. So you just create this space and this container of fun, bit of playful energy, and then disqualifying, which for you is a completely different frame and a completely different positioning. Now, why that comes second over tension is that you can get positioning, you can get frame, but what happens is when you're in the games of positioning and frame and polarity and all those things, is you're going to lose it, right? You lose positioning, you lose polarity, and you lose frame. It's going to happen. You're not going to keep it the whole time. You guys kind of play in and out of, you know, both of these energies. But as the guy in the masculine pole, especially if you're more masculine than your partner, the goal is to be able to hold the masculine pole for most of the time, keep frame most of the time, keep polarity and positioning most of the time. There's times, you know, it's for you to use discernment whether you want to lean in or out of that and when the timing is right. So if that's the case and you're the one who's in this situation and you're the one who leads in this, then that's what it looks like. It looks like you having to deal with the tension of the uncertainty, because as I said, you can get frame positioning and everything else, but the second that it falls off and all the triggers come up with you and you start freaking out, oh God, that's when you're like, Corey, someone, therapy, drinking, alcohol, and your ego just flares up, and then all of these other bad patterns and tendencies and traumas and habits that you've had that you thought you'd gotten rid of, you ain't gotten rid of, because now they're triggered within you. So, what I want you to write down specifically from this chapter below, or like this chapter of what I discussed, is just what you learned. Like, so write down, like, what did you learn from the law of tension? What did you learn when it comes to push and pull? And what did you learn in this video on overtexting and not getting any replies? Sorry, not overtexting, overthinking, and then having to deal with the silence of not getting a reply straight away. Big love, guys. See you in the next one.